They were listening, always listening. At first it was just static, a soft hum, a whisper of the void, the ordinary emptiness between stars, comforting in its predictability, until it came, sharp, sudden, precise, a signal unlike anything Earth had ever recorded, 1420 MHz, the universal frequency of hydrogen, the pulse of creation itself, and it was too perfect, too clean, too deliberate. As though someone, something, was testing us, reaching out, probing, a whisper threading across light years, threading through the dark, threading into our fragile instruments, which trembled as though alive, and when Jerry Emmons circled the pattern on the printout and wrote, "Wow!" no one dared imagine the truth of what they had seen, because in that moment, we were not alone. We had brushed against intelligence that did not sleep, that did not tire, that existed beyond time and comprehension, and it did not just arrive. It penetrated, it burrowed into the silence and left us trembling, staring at the black, feeling the impossible weight of observation pressing down on our tiny blue world. It lasted 72 seconds, not a second more, not a second less, and then it vanished, leaving only the hum of the universe. And the quiet was not comforting, it was oppressive, pregnant with the sense of being watched, measured, studied, as if whatever had spoken had withdrawn only to see how we would react, only to see if we were worthy of continued attention, only to see if we would notice that curiosity has consequences. Every telescope turned toward that point in Sagittarius found nothing, only emptiness. But the emptiness was alive with possibility, with intent, with patience older than we could imagine, the patience of entities that wait for centuries, for millennia, for civilizations to grow and learn, unaware that their signal has already found us, that their presence is a shadow over every thought we dare to think, that the universe is not empty, it is listening. And so we began to imagine. The signal pulsed like a heartbeat, a rhythm in the dark, the cadence of something alive, something patient, something indifferent, and we began to feel it everywhere, in the hum of machinery, in the flicker of lights, in the subtle patterns of radio noise, as if the signal had left traces, microscopic threads of presence, and we felt a tightening in our chest, a pressure, a low, buzzing awareness that we had awakened something. That someone had noticed us, that we were no longer simply observers, we were participants in a cosmic experiment we cannot control, cannot comprehend, cannot escape. They said it could have been a comet, a hydrogen cloud, interference from Earth, but none of these explanations satisfied, because the signal was deliberate, focused, intelligent, it carried the signature of awareness. And for 72 seconds, the universe had spoken in a voice we could almost understand, a voice that whispered of things too vast for our minds, of intelligences patient beyond reckoning, of civilizations that had risen and fallen while Earth was still molten rock, and it vanished, leaving only the dread, the knowledge that someone, something, had reached out and tested us, and we were not ready, we were barely awake. And now they are waiting, always waiting. At night, when the world goes still and shadows lengthen, you can imagine it there, beyond the veil, a presence stretching across light years, scanning, observing, knowing everything we do, measuring everything we are, and maybe laughing, or maybe simply patient, waiting for the moment we look too long, dig too deep, reach too far, because the wow signal was not just a message, it was a bridge, a thread connecting us to something older, something eternal, something that does not sleep, that does not dream, that does not forgive, that exists only to watch and to wait. And we answered, without knowing, by simply being, by being aware, by being alive, by looking up at the stars, and now we have been noticed, and there is no unnoticing it. No retreating, no comfort, only the slow, creeping awareness that intelligence does not need to move to be terrifying, that awareness itself, unbounded, patient, and eternal, is enough. And so we stare at the black, imagining the pulse lingering, a faint echo, a shiver in the static, a flicker in the electronics, the sensation of being watched even in empty rooms, even when alone, even when we tell ourselves we are imagining it. Because what if it is not imagination? What if it is still there, just out of reach, humming, listening, calculating, and perhaps testing, preparing, waiting for the moment when we are ready, when we are foolish enough to respond, and every night the sky feels heavier, every telescope hums with hidden significance, every faint radio blip might be it, the whisper returning, and the thought grows unbearable, that in those 72 seconds, something reached across the cosmos, looked at us, and withdrew, leaving a warning or a promise or simply a record that we exist, and the silence after is not relief, it is attention, it is observation, it is being measured, being weighed, being accounted for, and we cannot hide, cannot escape, cannot sleep without it, because the universe is listening, and now we are listening too, and for 72 seconds, the unimaginable touched us, and it is still there, and it is patient, and it is waiting, and if we reach too far, if we search too deep, if we think we are alone, it may answer again. Decades have passed since that first signal, yet the sky has not forgotten, and we have not forgotten, and sometimes, late at night, when the wind presses against the windows and the hum of electronics seems too loud, too deliberate, you can feel it again, brushing past the edges of your mind, a reminder that 72 seconds was not just a pulse, it was an invitation, or a test, or a warning. And we can still hear it if we strain, if we dare, in the flicker between static and silence, in the invisible currents of the air, in the hidden channels of the world we have built, because the universe does not sleep, and intelligence does not forgive ignorance, and every probe we send, every telescope we aim, every frequency we scan is a whisper into the darkness that is already listening, already waiting, already judging, and the thought grows unbearable, because it does not just observe from afar, it knows. It understands, it measures the fragility of our attention, the limits of our minds, the tiny spark of consciousness that we mistake for significance, and in that knowing, in that quiet, patient knowing, it smiles, or perhaps it merely exists, and existence itself is enough to terrify us, to remind us that the cosmos is not empty, it is attentive, it is eternal, it is aware. Some nights, researchers whisper of strange coincidences, instruments flickering without cause, data that cannot be explained, frequencies that appear for a fraction of a second and vanish before any human can record them, and each time, the same thought presses, heavy and cold. What if the signal never left? What if it simply waits, invisible, undetectable, watching our attempts to comprehend it, learning how we respond, how we measure, how we fear, how we hope, and with every passing year, the dread grows, because we understand a little more, and understanding is a burden. And knowledge is a weight, and the realization sinks like lead that maybe we are not looking for them, but they are looking for us, always, everywhere, and patience is their tool, silence their weapon, observation their method, and in 72 seconds of cosmic whisper, they told us everything we needed to know, and everything we were not ready to hear. We send probes, we build satellites, we scan distant stars, we imagine they are far away, indifferent, unreachable, but the memory of that pulse lingers, and it is not distant, it is here, it is now, it is threading invisible lines through our machines, our signals, our transmissions, and sometimes, in the stillness, we sense it. A hesitation in the data, a pattern too perfect to be random, a presence we cannot measure, a consciousness that stretches across the void, patient, unblinking, eternal, waiting for the moment when we are ready to look too long, dig too deep, reach too far, and the thought is unbearable, because what happens then is unknowable, because curiosity is no longer innocent, because awareness invites response. And the response may already be prepared, and 72 seconds, that fleeting moment, that brief pulse, was only the beginning, and now the universe hums quietly, and we are aware, and we are watched, and we cannot unhear it, cannot unsee it, cannot unfeel the weight of being observed, and the cosmos has already learned our names, our histories, our weaknesses, and the silence that follows is not calm, it is anticipation, it is a holding of breath, it is the slow tightening of a noose we cannot cut, cannot step aside from, cannot escape from, because for 72 seconds they reach for us, and now, in every static, in every flicker, in every shadow, we feel it again, brushing against the edges of our minds, reminding us that curiosity has a cost, that observation has consequences, that the universe is not indifferent, that intelligence waits, and waits, and waits, and we are still here, still listening, still aware, and the question lingers, a pulse in the darkness. Will we answer again, or will we wait too long, and be too late, and in the end, will the silence finally answer for us, or will the watching continue, eternal, patient, inevitable, as we spin, fragile and small, on our pale blue world, utterly unaware of what waits beyond the veil, just outside our comprehension, just out of reach, and yet closer than we dare imagine, and the thought settles like cold ash in our minds. Unbearable, unyielding, inexorable, that for 72 seconds they spoke, and now, they are still listening, and we are still answering, even if we do not know it, even if we cannot see it, and in the quiet, we feel it, a presence just beyond perception, infinite, eternal, patient, and waiting.